So, while we're setting up the AV, I'll just do a quick introduction and we can get started. So, amongst us, we have Mr. Chaitanya Charan, and I had the honor of listening to one of his talk over the weekend, and that was on work-life balance. And that session went on for 2 hours, and every piece of it was so relevant to how we work, how we think about our work, how we think about our life, and how we fail to kind of take care of the basics and balancing. So, Mr. Chaitanya Charan comes from a software background like us, so he's very relatable. And around 25 years back, he took on code. And since then, he has written 25 books. So at an average of one book per year, it takes a lot of effort to make sure that that kind of a quality content can come out. And he maintains two very active websites. One is Gita Daily, another one is the Spiritual Scientist, on which he has written some 4,000 articles, and every day he writes something or the other which has a relevance in our life. And he was visiting Hyderabad. It was very hard to get time on his schedule. He just did a talk at, and we managed to squeeze this Salesforce in the morning, and we managed to squeeze 1 hour here so that it can benefit us. What he's going to talk about is primarily about interpersonal awareness, interpersonal skills. Essentially, as we grow in our career, I think the relevance of what we know about product, what we know about business, I think becomes table stake. What really helps us do well in our professional career is how well are we equipped to work with each other and navigate the human relationship. So today's talk is about that. The way we'll structure this is he will take the first part to talk about this topic, and later in the second part we can take some question answer and we can even have some quality conversation. And before I hand over to him, I'd just like to call out that he is a TEDx speaker, and he's also spoken at World Peace Conference in UNESCO. He has traveled around the world across 4 continents. Every year he gives around 400 talks across hundreds of cities. And he has spoken at Microsoft and Redmond, Salesforce, even institutes like Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, MIT, Cambridge. So we are, I think, also one thing I discovered about him is that he has his articles as authors published in Indian Express, Times of India, Economic Times, and Speaking Tree section in UI. So I think at least I am very eagerly waiting to see what Mr. Chaitanya Charan has to share with us, and I'll probably come back and help with the moderation in the conversation. So, welcome, sir.
I'm grateful to be here with all of you. Can you hear me? Is this better now?
Yeah. Online folks, are you able to?
Okay. Is it better now? Can you hear me?
Online folks, were you able to hear the speaker?
Yours is significantly louder than mine.
It is working.
The recording, I think we are recording it, and we have a huge audience on Teams as well who joined online.
Thank you.
So look forward to it.
Keeps going. Sharing. Okay, she doesn't know when we are speaking about it. See if it stays steady. So before we start, let's try to orient ourselves with 3 deep breaths You close your eyes and take a deep inhale, and try to visualize the positivity from the atmosphere coming in as you exhale. All tiredness, distraction from the going out. Take one deep breath. Exhale. Once more. Inhale. Exhale. Once more, last time. Thank you. The topic today discussing is influence without authority. How to get people to work with us, to do something for us, when we don't have any direct authority over them. In one sense, this was an issue that drove me somewhat towards spirituality. About, as I mentioned, 25 years ago, when I completed my graduation, I was working in a software company. MNC, I had plans to go abroad. At that time, I was a part of a social welfare initiative. And my focus was on education. And I would go to underprivileged areas, slums, and I'd offer free tuitions to kids in English, math, history, subjects like that. And at the time, I noticed that when the kids were, certainly some of them were eager to learn, but as I became friends with them, I noticed that many of them were from dysfunctional homes, especially with their fathers. There was alcoholism, there was sometimes domestic violence. And it's very distressing to hear. And I started thinking, how much exactly am I helping them? By giving them this knowledge when their homes are so dysfunctional. I talked with leaders of our organization and decided to diversify into de-addiction. We got some experts to come and talk with the parents. And when I talk with the fathers especially, they seem to be nice people. I had some stereotype about what alcoholism is. But they seem to be very polite and nice people, and they were grateful that I was coming and teaching their children. But then the kids told me that when they get a bottle in their hands, they just become a different person. So then we decided to get into, we got some experts to do some talks. We also and then after some time, it was a small slum, but everybody there came together and decided we're all going to give up alcohol. And it was a great success for us. Everybody went dry in the sense of consumption of alcohol. And then we went home because I was in a hostel at that time. I came back after my semester break, and then I found that not only the parents, but even the kids had started taking alcohol. So in between, what happened was that at the local election, and that election, one of the candidates, in order to woo the people, had brought truckloads of free liquor for everyone. And everybody had taken it. So that's when I started thinking that it was a very different context, but I started realizing that sometimes we may open doors for people through education, through persuasion, through awareness, but something inside them seems to be like a trap. And that holds them down, that pulls them down. So the inner world inside people is far more influential than the outer world. In one sense, if you think about it, it's obvious. Things outside us don't affect us as much as the thoughts inside us. That's when I started exploring what the inner world is all about. I started reading on psychology, on philosophy, on spirituality. That's when I came across the Yoga text, the Bhagavad Gita. And then I started exploring this more and more. Not working. Is this better now? I don't see any noticeable difference as such. The volume is maximum here. Okay, I guess I'll try to speak a little louder. Is that better now?
Yeah. Sorry.
So now, when we are talking about how is this background related with influence with or authority, the point is that when we have some authority, we can bring some external force on people, and that makes them do things. But when there is no authority with us, say if you are working with a team that's in America, and from some that team member you need some support. Now you have no authority over that person, and you get them to help. So when we cannot bring in outer force to work, then we have to activate something from inside. So one of the key things that I learned through my spiritual journey is that if anybody is to change, change has to come from inside. And by spiritual change is an entirely different subject. I'm not focusing on that. But the point today I talk about is 4 principles for how we can activate people from inside. So I'll speak these 4 principles. It's long again. So I use the acronym HELP. The key is, we could say, when we are looking for influence and authority, the question that can be in our mind when we are is, how can I help you help me? How can I help you help me? We want another person to do something for us, but inside them, there is some thinking, some reasoning going on. So how can we make their thinking feel willing in such a way that they become ready to help us? So how can I help you help me? That's the question that we'll be trying to answer. And I said I'll talk about 4 things. And throughout this talk, if anybody have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll of course have time at the end. And also, in between, we will have some reflections, time permitting. So the first principle that is required is humility. Humility in the sense that it is we who need the help. And now humility can have many different meanings for many different people. But the way I see humility is, humility means to put our purpose above our ego. To put our purpose above our ego. Or another way, to not let our ego come in the way of our purpose. So I have to do something. Normally, say, hey, I have authority over someone. Then I can just tell that person and they have to do it. But if we don't get that kind of response from someone who only don't have authority. So at that time, our tendency might be to somehow try to exert force, somehow just forget it, I don't deal with these people. Let me just get along with, let me somehow get along without that person. Yeah, sometimes we can do that, many times we can't. So when we put our purpose above our ego, then it's essentially what this means is it's not about me. It's not about what I think. It's not about what I feel. It's about this person and what I can do to persuade this person. Humility in one sense means to put the other person first. We often have, in general, when there's a lack of humility, then there are 2 things that happen. One is that we try to force others, and if it force doesn't work, then we just start thinking that I don't want anything to do with people. So that is often the reaction when we try to work with people and it just doesn't seem to work. I was in America, I was going for a program, and there I saw a car bumper sticker. It said that the more I get to know people, the more I love my dog. So the idea is it's often difficult to work with people. And most people think, I just don't want anything to do with it. But we can't. We live in a complicated world and we need to work with people. So humility means that even if we can't get the other person to agree to us immediately, to accept, even if persuading the other person is hard work, we're ready to put in that work. See, in general, for most of us, in our technical work, in achieving some tangible goals, in meeting some project, we often are ready to put in the hard work for that. Okay, I have to get this degree, I have to get this certification, I have to get this accreditation. That requires work. And we're ready to put in the work. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships, maybe on a personal front, we are ready to put in some amount of work. But relationships in the professional front are also important. And it doesn't have to be like a 1-0 logic, digital. Either I get the person to listen to me or get lost. It's an incremental process. Sometimes it requires some work out. And humility means being ready to do that work. So one way to envision humility is, like I always said, the opposite of humility can seem to be ego. But it's not that simple. That if you consider a pendulum, one side of the pendulum is ego. Everybody has to listen to me. But the other side of it is insecurity, inferiority. Where when we don't get people to listen to us, we start thinking, oh, nobody listens to me. Nobody cares for me. People are so terrible. Everything is wrong. And that takes us into the zone of self-pity. And we oscillate. Either people listen to me or people don't. And if people listen to me, their ego increases. If not, we start getting insecurity, inferiority. But humility is in between. I need to learn how to work with people. I need to learn how to get people to do things. And that is a lifelong process. So it's not that I'm going to give some ready answers over here. I'll give some strategies which will be helpful for you. But humility means that relationships require work. That is the functional definition of humility I'm starting with. That it will require effort. And that effort, once we are ready to put in, doors open. In general, wherever attention goes, energy flows. Just realize this is going to take some effort. You'll find that the ideas will start coming, your creativity will start coming. How can I inspire or encourage or engage people? We start putting other people first and start. So that's the first part about humility. Now, after that, what is the acronym I'm going to talk about? L. So E is extending nature. Extending means, let's say, if I have to do a dozen things, and I need somebody else to do 6 things, I do half, and then we talk with that person. So in general, there is, if you visualize something on a spectrum, there is a point of acceptance. Okay, if that person says, okay, you do your work, I just show it to me, I'll review it. Some things the people agree, the other person agrees to. And then there's a point of rejection. Okay, this I'm not going to do. So the key is that in between this point of agreement, point of acceptance, point of rejection, in between the point of ambiguity. There are some things which we will just not be able to get other people to do. Unless we can literally force them to do it, threaten them, and even after threats, sometimes they will not work also. But there is the point of agreement, there is the point of rejection. And in between is the point of ambiguity. So now it is slowly, we can move the point forward. Okay, you agree to this, you agree to this, you agree to this, you agree to this. Like that, it moves forward. So in this situation, if say we want the other person to do something for us, so I'll give you an example of a sentence. Nice, it's not being right now. So if I want someone to help me now, as you know, many of you know, I'm a monk. So I work primarily with volunteers. So I have, as I mentioned, I've written some books, I have some websites. All this is done by people who volunteer to me. So none of them are obliged to do anything. And I found that in general, when people work based on inspiration, then it is that inspiration that needs to be maintained. Otherwise, they will not work. So in that situation, I just take a sample sentence and then we will try to reconstruct it. This doesn't have to be a standard sentence, but this is just one way. So, say, I need your help. That's the part. So this sentence will be an example of these four principles brought together. I need your help. That's humility, starting with that. And we need to complete this. Say, we need to launch this book by so and so date because we need to do this. I know that you are busy. Given that we have to complete it by this time, what can we do to help you get this done? To make this possible? It might seem a little long-winded, but there are four parts to it. First is, I need your help. Then, we need to get this done by so and so time. So it's not that we are saying you should do it. We need to get this done. You are busy. So what can we do so that we can get this done by this time? What can we do so that what can we do to help you so that this can get done by this time? So here the focus is we are asking for help, but what can we do to help you? How can I help you to help me? So when that focus is there, when we are ready to extend ourselves, then okay, I'm doing 6 things, I expect another person to do 6 things. But when we say, okay, I can't do 6 things. Okay, maybe they say I can do 1, I can do 2, I can do 3. So then slowly, between this point of acceptance and point of rejection, in the point of ambiguity, there is some movement. In general, if the first step, humility is not there, or the extending attitude is not there, extending nature is not there, then we just hit the point of rejection without even knowing what happened. And then sometimes if we get desperate, we may draw authority from above and try to force the other person to do something. But then that's not a sustainable way of functioning all the time. So extend is okay. We tell the person the big picture. They need to do this by this time because of so and so. And then we tell them, it's not that we are putting that person on the spot. Nobody likes to be put on the spot, especially from someone. This is especially difficult when we don't have a relationship with that person, when we don't know that person. If we have a relationship, it's relatively helpful. It's like, I do a favor for you today, you do a favor for me today, I do a favor for you tomorrow. And you all need each other help. That's great. But sometimes, if that is not the situation, then when we are ready to extend ourselves, what can we do to help you in getting this done? Then that person is given some freedom. In general, most people don't respond to being told what to do. We sometimes have to be, but if you're simply telling them what to do, it doesn't. So instead of giving an instruction, we give a vision. A vision of why this is important. You know? And in this, if there's an understanding that I'm ready to extend myself, then the other person becomes more ready to extend themselves. We'll come back to this point of extending a little later, because that extends throughout, in one sense. But that brings me to the third point. Now, L. L is extending nature was there. And I'm ready to do more, but part of this learning attitude. Different people have different incentives for doing things. And while interacting, if you understand what will incentivize that person. Some people are more rational. Just give a set of reasons, and that makes them inspired. Let's do it. But some people are not just persuaded by facts. Facts are important for them, but they have a feeling about other people. Some people we like and some people we don't like. And that shapes our decisions. In general, all making assessments about others. And say, there's someone we like, and that person comes late for a meeting. Say, must have been busy. Maybe had some emergency. On the other hand, someone we don't like, and that person comes late. So lazy, so irresponsible, so uncommitted. It's for everything. We think that, okay, other people are driven by feelings, I'm driven by facts. We are all driven by an unpredictable combination of facts and feelings. if I like someone and say that person is sleeping for a long time, he must be tired. If I don't like someone and that person is sleeping for a long time, so lazy. The same situation, but we respond differently. It's our. It's not that anyone is driven simply by feelings. We all are driven by a combination of facts and feelings. And what works where? That requires some learning. So the going backward, I started by talking about in my spiritual journey, I wanted to understand what goes on inside. So the yoga text explain that inside us there is our mind and there is our intelligence. There is our mana and there are buddhi. And both of them are in a sort of tug of war. That the mind goes more by feelings. The intelligence goes more by logic, by reason, by facts. But inside us itself, these two are not in harmony. There is a power struggle between both of them, and sometimes one wins, sometimes the other wins. So so what happens inside us is also something similar to what happens outside us. So when we are interacting with people, it's for us to find out what incentivizes us. Will it be a set of facts, will it be a set of feelings? What is driving them? To the extent we can learn that, then it helps in us being able to move forward. So here I would like to, before I go to the last part, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you had any experience of, say, different people responding differently to the same stimulus, or same set of reasons, same set of persuasion, that people are of different types, and that you need to use different ways of communicating with different people? Would any of you like to share any of your experiences with this point of, I hope I'm clear what I'm asking, that when we are to persuade people, we need, there are people at different types and sometimes different strategies need to be used to explain things to different people. Do you have any thoughts on this? Any experience and any reflections? Okay, let me put it another way. Can you share sometime when you were able to persuade someone to do something? And some creative way you came up with, which was successful. We're talking about influence without authority. Was there a time when you phrased something in a particular way or you did certain things by which you were successful in getting the other person to do what was needed?
I have an incident to share, but for the first question you asked, more of like when you said that for the, so it happens. So it's not related to the work. Can I? So it happens with me in my like when I chat with my sister and my mother, right? So when I talk to my sister, it's like I can go directly to the facts. That okay, there's this something I want, and can I go ahead if I'm asking or I'm explaining the situation? But with my mother, I have to like go a bit slow and explain the whole story and some. It's like I can't directly state the facts to her. So that is like how it's not directly persuading, but yeah, I'm just telling that that's how dealing with two different people.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Also, a certain level of hierarchy that comes into the picture. When they're dealing with our parents is different from when they're dealing with our siblings. Yeah, true. Thank you. Good point. Yes.
So again, from the personal side, um, me and my wife, we go to eat salad. My perspective is this is really good food, we should eat. Her perspective is this is raw, this will have insects, we should not eat it. Right? Very hard to convince her. But I think whatever challenges, whatever skills we're talking about, I think apply both on personal side and work side. But I'm just sharing on the personal side, similar situation happens, and just the diversity of opinions, or the diversity of thought, there is what you were referring to.
Actually, it is true. Salads and vegetables need to be very carefully cleaned, and otherwise, salads are healthy food, but it's only when you've gone through the cleaning of it first. That is not done, then it has counterproductive effects. So, yes, this is a good example of what you said, that the same situation, different people focus on different things. You're focusing on the fact that salad is healthy. She's focusing on, oh, this salad is there no cooking, so there are germs and insects and they will be there. So two people, when they're looking at the same thing, they are not necessarily focusing on the same thing. So that is not logical as much as it is psychological. It's not as much logical. They're looking at the same thing, but psychological. What is it that we're focusing on? And that's where, when we look at people, I do talk all over the world. In India, I often give cricket examples. But when I go to America, organizers always tell me, don't give any cricket examples. Why? They say, for Americans, cricket is an insect. Cricket as a game is becoming slowly popular with NRIs, Indians doing it, Indian diaspora is slowly there. But it's nowhere as big as baseball or other leagues. So, whenever a certain situation, the word cricket is coming up, different people focus on different things. In general, when we are facing it, there's a task to do. We may focus on the importance of the task. The other person may focus on just the work involved in the task, on the difficulty involved in the task. Now, both could be true. The task is important and the task is difficult. So when somebody focuses on the importance of the task, that inspires me, I have to do it. And somebody focuses on the difficulty involved in the task, I can't do this, I don't have space for this. So it's rather than saying that that person is unhelpful, that person is lazy, that person is uncooperative, it's just that their vision is focused on something. So when we are talking about learning attitude, it's like understanding where is that person's vision focused.
Sandeep? So I have a very good example, so I wanted to share.
Yeah.
So I have a hobby of like exploring things around. So recently I acquired a hobby of collecting herbs which grow on the roadside and making tea out of it. So it sounds very weird, and my wife is also totally against it. So over a period I discovered that she's on the spiritual side. So I just added the word tulsi on the herb. For example, I said it's a one tulsi. Now she is okay, it's one tulsi, then we should make a tea out of it. So basically earlier she was against it. Now when I give her various varieties of tulsi which grow around the house, she is excited about it and she wants to do more about it. So like my kid was suffering some cold. So now we are able to use the tulsi which I discovered around the house and give it to him for his treatment. Right? So things like this evolve if you just understand how the person thinks.
Excellent, thank you. It's a very good example. So, what happened here is that you had your interests, and then she had her interests, and you found intersection. So, herbs and there is spirituality, and there will see in the intersection moment. So, this is where, in one sense, many times when there are disagreements, when there are differences, if we can find the point of agreement and then move towards the area of disagreement, then it's easier to work. But quite often, the area of disagreement is what becomes our focus. And yes, two of us are coming from different places, and we have differences, and we do circles. Okay, there's so much in this circle, and say my circle is different from their circle, other person's circle. But there is an intersection. And to the extent we can discover that intersection, to that extent we have a shared interest. So this learning attitude that I talked about, which is a very excellent example for this point, is that basically, rather than looking at, oh, this person doesn't agree, what are their interests, what are my interests, how can I find the intersection? So one key of learning attitude is to be nice. I mean, by nice, I just only be polite. It's NIC. It's needs, interests, concerns, and expectations. Needs, interests, concerns, and expectations. So when we are communicating, for us, our needs are in our mind. And actually, that's our job to get things done. We have a particular thing we wish to move forward. So our needs are there, and that's important enough. And we may have to convey our needs. But if we try to have empathy, learning attitude is what helps us to develop empathy. Try to see things from the other person's perspective. Okay, why does a person think like this? And once we start seeing that, then our understanding grows. There is this whole point of being narrow-minded and broad-minded. Now, this can be understood many different ways, but one understanding of narrow-minded is that we think that reality is narrower than my mind. That means reality has to fit neatly in the conceptions of my mind. Whereas broad-minded is reality is broader than my mind. Reality is broader than my mind. That means, you see, if I'm narrow-minded, most people never not think that they are narrow-minded. But when we are narrow-minded, what happens is we have a particular conception of things. And if things don't fit into that, we just can't figure it out. We try to reduce everything down to that that way of looking at things only. So, this person is not helping me, therefore that person is not helping me. This person is not listening to me, therefore this person is dumb. So it's like a small child gets a hammer for the first time, and the child discovers there's a nail over here, hit the hammer, he goes inside. And once that happens, for the child, say, once they get a hammer, everything seems to be like a potential nail. Smash everything, smash everything. Yeah, a hammer is a useful tool, but it is not the only tool. So like that, when we are narrow-minded, we have found, say, one thing that works. And then we start reducing all of reality to that one thing that works. And everything becomes a potential nail which you have to smash with a hammer. But broad-minded means that reality is broader than my mind. That there are things which maybe I don't understand right now. Just because somebody is not helping doesn't mean that they're disagreeable or uncooperative. There could be a whole set of other factors. And that brings me to the last point. When you have this learning attitude, then from that we can come to E, that is pragmatism. Pragmatism means practicality, but it's practical wisdom. So the key to pragmatism is to hold on to our plan lightly and hold on to our purpose tightly. Hold on to our plan lightly. I went into this with this particular plan. And it's important to have plans, because in one sense, plans show our seriousness. Okay, if this happens, I will do this. This happens, I will do this. This happens, I will do this. So we have some plan. For anything that is serious, anything that is important for us, we do make plans. But again, the problem is that reality does not conform to our plans. And like we are driving in a particular direction and we use Google Maps. Or we have a map, okay, we are going this direction. So this is the plan. And there is a big traffic situation there. So we just not move. Okay, maybe this road doesn't work. Maybe the other route that will work. So the plan is a particular road we travel by. The purpose is the destination we want to get. So similarly, when we go into a particular interaction, we may have a plan, we may have a mental picture of how things will move forward. But sometimes it doesn't work. So rather than thinking that if our plan doesn't work, nothing will ever work. Hold on to our plan lightly, but hold on to our purpose tightly. Okay, what is the purpose I wish to achieve? When we are interacting, at the end of the interaction, what do I want this person to think? What do I want this person to feel? What do I want this person to do? So, thinking, feeling, and doing. If we keep that in mind, then the specific discussions that are happening, sometimes they just break down, or they turn a little unpleasant. When you keep the end purpose, okay, we want to get this project moving, we want to get this thing done. Then if this way doesn't work, this way it works. So rather than having a 1-0 kind of pragmatism means, rather than having a 1-0 kind of attitude, this has to be digital, it is more analog. It is more of negotiation. And most of the times in life, there are some things like if you're doing a mathematical sum, if you're doing a crossword puzzle, there's a clear right answer. But in real life, situations, most situations don't have a clear right answer. Say, if you're doing a project and you're allowed some resources. Now, there is no necessarily exact answer mathematically present. This is the way to do it. Most of life is not a crossword puzzle or a mathematical problem. It's much more complex than that. So because of that complexity, we need to be a little more ready to negotiate. In life, often there are no perfect solutions, but there are workable trade-offs. Rather than looking for solutions, we look for trade-offs. Okay, this doesn't work. What will work? So once we come to this level, we approach people, talk with people, be personal with them to whatever extent is possible. Pragmatism means that rather than having this 1-0 attitude, we work with people, we learn how to help them learn. We learn how to help them learn. That means, okay, what are they thinking? Where are they coming from? And then based on that, we can find out what is doable for them. And if we can learn to live in this area of trade-offs, in between that zone of area of agreement and area of rejection. In the area of ambiguity, you might move the needle slightly forward. Today, just one step forward. Tomorrow, you do 2 steps. The after tomorrow, you do 3 steps. And like that, we'll find that our plans may or may not work, but our purpose will be moving forward in that direction. So I'll summarize. I talked about how to have influence without authority, and then I started by talking about how, in my explorations in, say, social outreach, I discovered that the external influence on people is not as much as the inner influence. How to change that was my search, and that is the same principle. Because we don't have external authority, we want to change whatever is happening inside, so that people will work. So the key question is, how can I help you help me? And then I discuss 4 principles. What are the H? Humility. Humility means start with I need your help. So rather than going in with my ideas of what are needed and reducing people, you have to listen to me. That is ego. You don't listen to me, inferiority. No, nobody cares for me. Humility is let me put in the hard yards in this to understand what will make people good, what will make people grow. So humility means recognizing the relationships require work and be ready to do that work. Then E was extending attitude. That means rather than putting the other person on the spot, I need this by this time, you have to do. We need to get this done by. I know that given that you're busy, how can I help? How can we help in getting this done? So when we give a reason why something is important and we are ready to extend ourselves, then what happens is that person doesn't feel that we are forcing you. Okay, yeah, this is a bit of a demand, but if you are ready to extend myself, I can extend myself. So we talk about the point of agreement, the point of rejection. And in between, the point of ambiguity, we can try to move the needle forward. And to move that needle forward, that L was what? Learning attitude. That different people are persuaded by different things. We need to find out what are their incentives. So we have our interests, they have their interests. To work together, we need to find out where that Venn diagram intersects, where the intersections are on the Venn diagram. So once we find that, then we'll find that people will become much more thin. The last part T was pragmatism. Pragmatism means that hold on to a plan lightly, hold on to a purpose lightly. That often in real life, there is no precise solution. Life is not a mathematical puzzle or a password puzzle. So rather than expecting a perfect solution, we learn to work with trade-offs. As we learn to negotiate, then gradually start moving the needle forward from the point of agreement towards further and further in the zone of ambiguity. Thank you very much.
Questions. If you have any questions, please. Online, offline.
Are there any questions online, offline?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand or feel free to unmute and speak. In the room, raise your hand, please.
I have
Yeah. So you said a point about like not focusing too much on your ego, like putting the purpose above it. But I noticed that like even if you're aware, the ego is something which is very sneaky. Like, it can sneak in even when you think you're not being egoistic, right? Like it feels like that sometimes. So can you share some like practical tips on how you kind of counter that, right? Because I have felt that even if you're aware that your ego is kicking in, it just kicks in like when it happens. So any like practical tips there?
It's a very universal challenge of the university in America. I saw a quote on one boy's t-shirt. The quote said, "My humility is my greatest quality." so we can become proud about our humility also. Yeah, the ego can sneak in anywhere. It's true. I find that it's a constant process of reorientation. It's like a pilot and they're trying to plane, the plane will keep going off course, you keep getting back on course. So rather than getting discouraged that has gone off course, expect it, and then reorient yourself. So the ego will pop up. But it's if we keep our purpose in mind, and the ego, as soon as the ego pops up, we become aware of it. Purpose in mind, and we come back to this. So if we just start in general in our life, fighting against something is exhausting. Unless we are real, unless in a movie somebody is driven by vengeance and they are fighting against and I want to destroy this person. No, hate can fuel someone like that. But in general, in our normal lives, in terms of self-improvement, fighting against something is quite difficult. It just gets exhausting. We need to be fighting for something. So when we are fighting for something, then this is the cause I'm fighting for. That gives me energy. Fighting against something is exhausting in the sense that I fight, I win, I lose. I win, I lose. I win, I lose. And then after some time, how long will you fight? But if you're fighting for something, then we are moving forward then. I may not be succeeding all the time, but each time I fight, say I'm fighting for my purpose. If I'm fighting for my purpose, then okay, every time I fight for my purpose, I take it a little forward. And again, my ego may come in and it may take me off. But every time I'm fighting for my purpose, I can see that I'm moving forward. So that's how we can actually quantify some success. And that's what can give us the motivation to do more. So trying to fight against the ego is a losing battle. It's more of fighting for something that is bigger than the ego. So we could write down, hey, what is my purpose? What is the important thing for me in this situation? And then why is it important? And keep revisiting that. Say if we have gone for a casual meeting somewhere, and then somebody mistreats us, disrespects us, in this case, so I'm not going to walk away from it. But say if you want for an important job interview, you want a medical appointment, and there along the way, there's some improper behavior. This is more a matter of life for you. Who does it? So it is, no, ideally speaking, no one should be mistreating anyone. Everyone should be polite and respectful. But we don't live in an ideal. So in general, the way to endurance or resilience is that we need to keep the big things big. And that's how we can keep small things small. If I'm focused on keeping the small things small, it just doesn't work. It's the more I think about all these are small things, especially in relationships. One person is upset about something, the person is a small thing, it's a worker. You'll find the other person is even more worker. Like first, I was agitated because of this thing, and now I'm agitated that you are not agitated because of this. So it becomes double negative. So generally telling somebody, including us, this is a small thing, that doesn't work. We have to know and remember that this is the big thing. And as compared to this big thing, this is small. So now New Year is coming. Often you are asked to talk some New Year resolutions. That is one of the keys, one challenge in New Year resolutions. Most surveys have shown that most people, their New Year resolutions are not true. They had made the same resolutions previously. So it is a challenge to keep resolutions. But one of the wrong thing that we do is we make resolutions about what we will stop doing. And that is not sustainable. Behind every unhealthy behavior, there is a healthy behavior. So if I waste a lot of time on social media, if I spend too much time watching TV, I spend too much time gossiping, whatever it is, that is unhealthy behavior. But underlying that is a healthy behavior. Maybe the need is, okay, when I'm tired, I need a break. I need some refreshment. I need some rejuvenation. I need some relaxation. That is a healthy behavior. So we need to find out a healthier way to address that. If I focus only on this unhealthy behavior, stop it. But the need is there underlying it. And that need is not addressed, then that unhealthy behavior resurfaces. That's why, okay, this is a new habit I'm offering. This is addressing my need. Okay, so whenever I feel down, maybe I can do some meditation. Maybe I can hear some soothing music. That's a healthier way to address, to get a relaxation and break. Then rather than saying, I will not do this, let's start doing the healthy. So once we start fighting for something, then fighting against something becomes a byproduct. Important question.
I have one question: humility. Humility can be taken as being soft, or we can take it for granted. So how do we balance humility versus the firmness to get things done?
Yes,
That is often we get confused on that.
I fully agree. That's a common problem. If we are humble, we feel that people may walk over us. People may never listen to our opinions. And that's why the point I made is humility is to put our ego above our purpose. It doesn't mean to not have a purpose. If I have a purpose, I can be firm about that purpose. But when my ego takes over, then what happens is my ego collides with the other person's ego. And then the collision of egos, right, it just leads to a nasty explosion. But this is my purpose. If we have that focus, then we can be firm and we can be a little more objective also. Why is this so important? So that's why if we let people walk over us, then what we are exhibiting is not humility, it's insecurity, inferiority. So ego means I make my purpose entirely about me. It's my ego takes over my purpose, and that's ego. And then insecurity is or inferiority, I just let go of my purpose. But when there's humility, okay, my purpose is important, and a humble person, that's how can be assertive. The person with ego either becomes aggressive or it's like aggressive or they become defensive. They are attacking someone, or if the other person is not is attacking, then they just become very defensive. They're not very reasonable. Uh, an insecure person just leaves the fight. And sometimes that may be required. I mean, it doesn't always have to be insecurity. Somebody might say, this is not that important that I want to get into it. But if it is important, just quitting. That's what the insecure person is. But the humble person stands up for the cause, stands up for the purpose. So definitely humility does not mean letting people walk over us.
So how do we make someone do something if he has authority over us? This is good. There is no authority in picture, but can you please explain with example how can we make someone do something if he has authority over us?
Yeah. Well, generally, in such situations, we have to explain our need and appeal to their language. Explain rationally, logically, why that thing is needed for us. So, we need a leave because of some emergency in our life. Then we explain that. And generally, everybody has a high nature. Everybody has lower nature also. We appeal to their high nature. And I would say in most situations, this combination of explaining our need and appealing to the higher nature will work. Sometimes it doesn't. Then at that time, we have to decide how important is it. If it's really important for us, then we may go above that authority, escalate the matter. Sometimes we may say, okay, this is not that important. Let go of it. But the general combination is explain our need rationally, objectively, as clearly as possible, and appeal to their higher nature.
Can you please explain about what do you mean by appeal to the higher nature? What do you mean by higher nature?
Okay, let's say higher. I don't want to use the word lower nature way, but simply let's say we all, whenever we are interacting with people, there's a transaction side, function side. Get this done, get this done, get this done. But we all implicitly know that we are not just machines. No, machine can just get a robot, can just give an order to it. We all have a human side. We all at our core are conscious spiritual beings. We all have a human side. So we need to connect with each other as human beings. So basically, we appeal to the humanity the other side. There's a function side. Say if somebody is authority, they also have certain tasks to get done, and we are one of the resources for them to get the task. But the interaction relationship is not just about getting tasks done. There's a human bond also to be established. So when we appeal to humanity, so yeah, then that's what is about the identity. Say. So this is where I found a little difference in working in India and working in the West. That in the West people are very polite, but they're not very personal. In terms of opening the door for someone, in terms of being courteous in greeting, there's a lot of politeness. In many ways, it's more than in India. But in terms of personal, connecting with the human level, that's not this. That's why there's so much humanness. So, if say if we have a particular need, then we remind that person of how it would be if they had this need. So That way we appeal to the human, we connect with them at a human level, not just a functional level. Not that you are my boss and I'm your subordinate. We are both human beings, we have a human journey together. Am I making this?
Yes.
There's one question.
Possibly take this as the last question.
Hello, sir. Thanks a lot for the wonderful session, first of all. I had a question regarding a statement you just made regarding when you were explaining one of the concepts that every unhealthy habit that we have has an underlying like healthy need, as you were mentioning. So my question is that why is it the case that for most of us, every time we wish to address that healthy need, we instinctively or quite naturally end up taking an unhealthy option only? So, like, just from the example which you mentioned for the social media, why are most of the people not naturally inclined to read books or maybe, to explore those alternatives which are healthy?
Yeah, this is an important question. Okay. See, I answer from the perspective of yoga text what I understood about how behavior works. There are three layers to our being. There's the body, there's the mind, and there's the spiritual side, the soul. We compare this to computer system. That is the hard, the user, that's like the spiritual side. The software, that's the mind, and there's the hardware, that's the body. So every time we do an action, that creates an impression in the mind. Like say if I visit a particular site on my browser web or my device phone, then that gets recorded. So suppose somebody visits a particular site called Bollywood.com. Then maybe they visit 50 times, 100 times, 200 times. Anytime they type B, that comes as autocomplete. Now suppose they came to a talk like this, where they heard something about, say, the Bhagavad Gita. They want to know what is this all about. I heard so much about it. They go to their browser and type B. And what happens? Bollywood comes. The browser is not their enemy. The browser is simply going back to its history and giving us the autocomplete what was done before. So similarly, we could say our mind is also like a browser. Whatever we have done is stored in the browser, in our mind's browser, in the history. So as soon as that letter B comes, the browser goes to say Bollywood. Similarly, as soon as I'm bored, my mind goes to social media. As soon as I'm feeling a little tired or dejected, down, it goes to social media. That will come as autocomplete. Now with respect to our browser, we might just delete our browser history. There's no delete button for our mind. But what we can do is suppose somehow that person types the whole word of Bhagavad Gita. It's 12 letters. It can seem like climbing Mount Everest. But somehow we do that. We do that once, then that gets also stored in the browser. Then we do it twice, we do it 3 times, 4 times, we do it 10 times, 20 times. Then after that, when we type B, along with Bollywood, Bhagavad Gita also will come. And if we keep visiting Bhagavad Gita over a period of time, that will come as the first option. So basically, for us also, say there was a healthy need, there's an unhealthy way to fulfill that need. There's a healthy way to fulfill that need. But in the past, if we have fulfilled that need in an unhealthy way, from within, the immediate prompt will come to go towards the unhealthy direction. But somehow, if we just push ourselves to go in the healthier direction, then that will also be stored in the memory. And that is why, that's why I earlier said that don't fight against something. Because what happens is that Bollywood is already there in the browser. The unhealthy behavior is already there in the browser. And at any time we might not be watching, we might not be attentive, suddenly we type B and we're not looking at what's Bollywood. So like that we sometimes have a relapse. And if we are judging our success solely by I will never have a relapse, I will never do this again, then we become very discouraged. Why did I do it? But the more important thing is, okay, even if we went there, if I am doing the healthier behavior, just keep repeating it, then that will create impressions in the mind. And if you just keep repeating the healthy behavior, okay, sometimes the unhealthy lapses are happening, that's okay. But just keep doing the healthy behavior, that will keep creating impressions in the mind. And over a period of time, when the prompt comes, when we still feel bored or we feel tired, if you feel depressed or lonely, whatever, then, okay, should I go to social media? Should I read some book? Maybe I should just do something. Another option also. So initially, a little bit of pushing ourselves is required. And that's why rather than waiting for the moment when the unhealthy craving comes up, we just create a habit of doing the healthy behavior. Just repeat it. Keep repeating it. Even if it's, in this case, even if somebody wants to say, do some deep breathing, do some meditation, do some reading of some good wisdom texts. Even if you do it for 5 minutes every day. See, here the quantity is not as important as the frequency, the regularity. Just keep repeating it. The mind is a programmed machine, but it is also reprogrammed. And if you just keep creating the new habit, after some time, the new habit will fight with the old habit. We don't have to fight with the unhealthy behavior. The unhealthy behavior will fight with the unhealthy behavior. Does that answer your question?
So if I were to put the answer in a few words, that it is because we already have those impressions in the mind. That is why we are naturally inclined. But what I also understand in this context is that, let's say there are two alternative means to address an issue. Let's say I have a healthy need of some sort of a recreation, and there's a healthy alternative and an unhealthy one. But I'm not aware of both of these up till now. To take a very crude example, let's say I'm not aware that something called substance abuse exists, drug consumption exists, okay, or talking to a person when I'm sad exists. Both of these are new possibilities for me. But still, I think that we have that natural instinct or craving for always the unhealthy option, even though I might not have done in the past. But if I were to get introduced to that, my inclination of getting addicted or used to will be more towards the unhealthy aspects of things. That's what I've felt. That might or might not be absolutely correct, but what are your views on that? Why does that happen if that is the case?
Okay. So it's a good articulation of a specific question. Two things over here. Here, if you go into the yoga tradition, there it says our life doesn't begin from this life. You also carry impressions from the past. And that's why if there are two siblings, there are two twins, identical twins. And yet, physically they're identical, psychologically they're different. So if our genes were determining our entire behavior, the genes are the same. There's something more to us than our biology. So we also carry impressions from the past. And sometimes those impressions from the past, they may not manifest till a particular age. When we are old enough and we have options, then we may gravitate toward negative options. But I have seen the other side also. There are some people just naturally gravitate. They may be in a hostel where everybody is indulging in unhealthy behavior, but they are just indifferent to it. They don't even feel tempted by it. They just go on it. They have come with healthier impressions. That's one thing. But the other thing is that, yes, generally the unhealthy behaviors are much more glamorized in today's world. And because of that, it's, oh, that's cool. Sometimes what's cool is what makes us a fool. So, so because of that glamorization, we tend to go in that direction. We are all people we all need a sense of belonging. And sometimes the social validation is much more for unhealthy behavior than for healthy behavior. If say somebody starts meditating, then what's wrong with you? Well, actually meditating is good. There must be something wrong with you. That's why you're taking the meditation. No, there's something right and I want it to be better. That could also be a possibility. So that's why it's important that we also choose a good social circle. So if we want to choose a healthier behavior, then we need to also find a circle that values that behavior. Then it will become easy to do. Thank you very much for your thoughtful participation. All the very best for you in your various journeys in life.